record.
There we go. There we
Yeah.
go.
So today is a special day because we are having our third guest, which is Bill Cushing. Hello, Bill.
How do you do?
I'm fine. As you can hear, I don't have a voice, but I'm fine. So can you introduce yourself to my audience, please?
Sure. Well, I guess as far as you're concerned, my big thing is I'm a big film buff. I've actually taught some classes on film as literature, history of film, that kind of thing. But it's just I've always been in love with movies. Actually, probably the first time I got turned on to film was my mother took me to see West Side Story when I was a kid. And of
Oh.
course, having grown up on things like, the Three Stooges and Jerry Lewis and things like that, the slapstick comedy, to suddenly see
Mhm.
what you could do with cameras and colors and, effects and stuff. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing stuff. So, yeah, I immediately fell in love with movies and have been chasing them down ever since and just, enjoying them as an art form. So,
Oh,
but
that's so cool.
I'm a retired college teacher, formerly a shipyard worker. Actually, I went to school much later in life and then became an English teacher. But and I write. I still, I've published several books of poetry, and I've got a collection of short stories coming out. Hopefully next month. So,
Well, I'll keep my fingers crossed for you when
oh,
I'm in
thanks.
Egypt because next month I'm in Egypt. I will be in Egypt the
Oh,
second
okay.
second week of July. Next week actually. Yeah, I'm very excited. Anyways, so I wanted to talk to you. Here we go. My voice is on. I told you my voice would be gone. Um, I wanted to talk to you about you said you watched West Side Story, um, and
Yeah.
that's by Mr. Wes Anderson. So, or
Oh
am I
no, no. Well,
correct?
this is
Oh,
no
excuse me.
West
That
Side Story was the actually Leonard Bernstein and who else was involved in it? Oh my God, I mean, it's actually a musical. It was on Broadway first, and then got transferred to film.
yeah.
Um, I think Wes
Yes,
Anderson,
Wes
which
Anderson. You're frozen. I
I
couldn't
love
hear
his
what you
stuff
said.
too. Which he has a new movie coming out, by the way.
Yeah, I know Asteroid City. I am so excited to
Yeah,
watch it. It looks a lot of
yeah.
fun, but I haven't watched it yet.
I think Wes Anderson is a sort of an acquired taste for those of us who love him, but there's a lot of people who just can't stand him. It's like, well, to each his own, I guess. But I really love his stuff.
I have only watched the remake of I can't talk today.
Oh, the
West,
new version. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and also watched yeah, I think that's it what I watched from by him. Let me check. Wes Anderson. Oh, I forgot. I watched the French Dispatch. I loved it.
Oh, okay, okay.
You sounded very you sounded very like, oh, okay, like didn't you like it?
I didn't see that one. I missed that. I think my favorite from him was Moonrise Kingdom. I just loved that one. But just about everything he does. I mean, I've got copies of Life Aquatic and Moonrise Kingdom, of course, and the Grand Budapest Motel or Hotel,
Oh, yeah, I love that one too as well.
which yeah,
So, from one legendary director to another,
yeah.
let's go.
Get on topic.
We are going to talk about Mr. Quentin Tarantino. I
And
learned
yeah,
I I learned today that I didn't know that he is a nepotism baby. I didn't
oh
know
really?
that. Yeah,
I didn't.
his father is Italian musician. What's his
Hmm.
name again? Hold on. There's Quentin Tarantino. I can never memorize his name because I have this thing with like words
Yeah,
and like letters, so I can never memorize his name.
I
But
I'm not familiar with his family background at all. I
I
just
mean,
enjoy his work.
oh yeah, his father's name is Tony Tarantino.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Yeah, so which are your favorite like
Well,
works
and
of
that's what I was going to
his?
say. My absolute favorite of his, and I don't think he'll ever top it, is Inglorious Bastards. Once
Mm,
he did that, and it's so funny because after that, of course, he did Django Unchained,
oh,
and
that's
I
my
went to see
favorite one.
that, and people say, "Well, how was it?" I said, "Well, it's good, but it's not Bastards." You know, or
Okay.
Hateful Eight, which is also a very good one. But it's
Yeah, that was
I
also good.
think now up until then, I have to confess, my favorite from him was maybe not everybody's cup of tea, but was Dusk Till Dawn. I absolutely loved the just over the top campiness of that. Even though, yeah, Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs and Jackie Brown, of course, but I just loved Dusk Till Dawn. It was this mashup of all these different genres that was just completely over the top, and I just enjoyed the hell out of it. But to me, Bastards is his pinnacle. Um, it's the one movie I think you can compare to, say, Kubrick. I think that's where he reached a talent that could be comparable to Stanley Kubrick stuff. Uh, it's just, it's a great movie. Like I say, I don't think he'll ever top it. So, not that I'm saying don't do more movies, but man, it's kind of like to me, it's the movie he was born to make.
Okay, I when you said like before that, I thought, okay, now he's going to say Pulp Fiction because my last guess he also said Pulp Fiction. I was like, I have seen Pulp Fiction, but I don't really remember it
Oh,
because
really? Okay. Well,
I
that
think
was the one.
I was too young. That's why.
Oh, maybe, yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
Well, Pulp
Django.
Fiction, I thought was a very clever, and
Hmm.
here again, it's kind of what he did with Inglorious Bastards was this clever manipulation of a genre that's already been well established. Because Pulp Fiction, of course, the title comes out of the old Pulp Fiction like dime store books you used to buy that had all these different stories, but they were somehow all connected through characters and time and whatever. And I thought it was really wonderfully done. Um, and Reservoir Dogs, of course, was to me, it's kind of a mix up of um, Treasure Sierra Madre and Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3. He kind of incorporated those two movies into one. Uh, but to me, I mean, I have a very good friend he's still in New York and he's an actor. And he told me once, he said, if I ever taught an acting class, I would take that opening scene of Inglorious Bastards between the French farmer and the Colonel, that the SS Colonel, I forget, Lanza. That conversation between the two of them. He says, "Boy, that's an acting class within a 2 minute scene, a 3 minute scene." Uh, what I loved about it visually, I think it's nearly perfect. At one point, I just took it and I would fast forward it and just stop or at just any arbitrary point. I wasn't even looking for anything. Just where am I now? Every frame seemed perfect. He had the camera placed in just the right spot for every frame in that film. I'm absolutely convinced. So this is why I think it's the greatest movie he'll ever make. I can't find a single flaw in the thing.
Yeah. I I'm just looking through IMDb right now. I have seen that movie, but like I said, I was too young for
Hmm.
that to remember it. But yeah, like all the Quentin Tarantino movies are like so aesthetically pleasing, like so
Hmm.
I guess like well curated from the set
Yeah.
pieces to the design to the color grading. Like it tells a story from beginning
Mm.
to an end, and I have not really seen anything close to this like almost like print like this signature of this director, like of Quentin
Hmm.
Tarantino.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. It's kind of like when you see a Spike Lee movie, you know you're watching Spike Lee.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I think Tarantino's in that same category. So when you see a movie by him, even if he's not directly involved, I mean, you look at the Grindhouse movie that came out, even though he wasn't a director, he was a producer, or the movie Hero, which he helped produce. Uh, you can see touches of him in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's a very dominating figure, which I think is really great. But what I really appreciate about his work too is that his knowledge of film history shines through. Uh, Here again, you look at Inglorious Bastards, and there's elements of The Last Metro in there, which I think are really wonderful. I mean, they come in later on, obviously, with the introduction of Shoshana running the movie theater with the French, the black lover. And I said, well, this is right out of The Last Metro. And she even looks a little bit like the actress he cast even looks a little bit like Catherine Deneuve. Uh, so it's, yeah, I just love the way he harkens back to history on his stuff. Like I say, you look at Reservoir Dogs, then you see elements of Pelham 123 and Treasure Sierra Madre. Um, so, and even, if you look at the Hateful Eight, the Western that he does, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah.
that really very well done.
I think it was the Hateful Eight or Django that I fell in love with the Western
Oh, okay.
genre.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because I was like, ugh, that's so boring. Like you have like these horses and these human beings, like they're just catching cattle or like shooting one another. Like what's I don't get the
Oh,
genre. Then I watched Django Unchained.
Hateful Eight.
I was
Django,
like
yeah.
I was like okay, I get you guys.
Well,
I understand, and I'm here for it. And ever since then, I love the Western genre.
that's interesting because if you look at Django, is it a Western or is it a Civil War movie?
Yeah,
That would be a big
yeah,
question to answer.
that's like something in between.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
But the Western, although it's interesting because to me, the Western, I mean, every Western is basically the same. Every war movie is basically the same.
mhm.
Uh, the Western as a format is so adaptable. I mean, I don't know if you ever saw Book of Eli with Denzel Washington. Uh,
um, Let me
the
check, because
post-apocalypse.
they like here the movie theaters in like Austria and Germany, Switzerland, they love to change the name. So maybe I have.
Oh, okay.
What's
Well, this is the
what's what's the name again?
post-apocalyptic. It's called the Book of Eli. It's where Denzel is
Washington,
trying to deliver this. Hmm?
Denzel Washington. You
Yeah,
said.
Denzel Washington is the star,
I
and
think
Gary
I have
Oldman is the
watched
bad
it.
guy.
Oh, I love Gary Oldman.
Oh, okay. But it's where Denzel is trying to get to this place to record the Bible, as it turns out. Uh,
Oh no, I
but it's
haven't watched it yet.
okay,
But
but it's just
but I'll put it on my list and then tell you if I liked it.
but really, if you look at if you look at Book of Eli, it's really a Western. It's like, yeah, it's a Western. I don't know if you've ever seen Rob Roy with Liam Neeson and Jessica Lange about the Scottish Highlander. It's a Western. It's just using cutlasses rather than six shooters. Yeah, it's very interesting because that Western formula can work in a lot of different scenarios. Um, so yeah, and Hateful Eight is a Western in a way, but it's not a Western in the traditional sense at all.
Exactly. Like I love that you can do so much with the Western genre. You can like go back to history and then tell that story, or you can like
Yeah,
tell a story in the future, and then you also like can tell a story, tell the same story basically history wise,
yeah,
but like from a different perspective, or like you can give the let's say the um what's called what's the word? The indigenous people,
oh,
um,
indigenous, yeah,
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 indigenous people, like
mhm,
more background, and tell their background through this Western story, but then it kind of like ties into this like cowboy story as well. So it's very like
yeah.
versatile and
It's a storytelling formula that works. And like I say, if you look at every war movie,
mhm.
is basically the same. Wherever
Yeah.
it is, it's this group of soldiers or fighters or
Mhm.
whatever you want to call them who go out on some mission, and how does that mission affect them, and who comes back, and you know what every war movie basically runs into that. I mean, not everyone obviously, but most war movies are, whether it's Fury or Private Ryan or of course
Or
my favorite
1979.
1917. That was an interesting one.
70,
uh,
excuse me.
yeah, I like that. I don't think it's the best I've ever seen, but I appreciated the technique that went into it. I got to tell you, my favorite war movie and is Das Boot, the German
Hmm.
movie about the U-boats. I think is one of the greatest war movies ever made. Uh, but I know everybody goes to Saving Private Ryan, but I'm like, it's good. It's not great. I think there are
I
better.
liked Dunkirk as well.
I love Dunkirk, but I got to admit, I'm a Chris Nolan fan, who's another one I really appreciate his stuff.
Oh,
Um,
yes, I'm so excited for Oppenheimer.
oh yeah, yeah. Well, and by the way, I just found two more reasons to go see that. Emily Blunt and Kenneth Branagh are in it, so as if I didn't
Yeah,
need to go watch it, those two are part of
or
the
like
cast.
Robert Downey Jr. and Florence Pugh. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
What? I'm so excited. Like I like Barbie as well. I'm very excited for Barbie, but more
Oh yeah.
I'm more but I'm more excited for Oppenheimer. Like because he like basically like told the story without CGI, and I'm like so
Well,
curious to
that's
know
yeah, yeah. Well, it
how
was
he
interesting
did
because
that.
you mentioned Dunkirk, and I think one of the complaints about Dunkirk, I heard that I would give some validity to. Somebody said, "Look, there's no one character here that I can latch onto and really identify with." And that's really one of
Mm,
the things in the war movie genre. You have to identify with at least one character, usually the outsider.
yeah,
But
I do agree with that. There
yeah,
like it was cinematically beautifully done,
but to
but
me,
character wise, it was a little bit flat.
well, here's what I loved about it was his screwing around with the narrative structure, because
Mm,
and it took me about a third or maybe almost a half of the film to suddenly understand what Nolan was doing. Was you're getting all these different points of view, but the time span for each point of view is different. So for the
oh, okay.
soldiers on the beach, it's 3 or 4 days. For the
Oh, I
guys in the
remember that.
Yeah, for the guys in the boats coming to rescue them, it's about a day. for the guys in the airplanes, it's about 2 hours. So he's breaking this narrative structure of time, just blowing it completely out of the water. And I was like, now this is interesting. So I didn't care that I didn't have one single character to latch onto. I was like, watching him play with the time element was very much like what he did in Inception, where he's playing with whose subconscious are we into now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so I always love Nolan for the way he basically he breaks ground that most people don't even think about. Uh,
Yeah,
so
he like makes you think. He like makes you question every single thing. And maybe
yeah,
that's why I like Inception or what's the other ones?
well,
Incep-
Memento is the one of my favorites from him. But he
No.
also did Interstellar. Uh, what's
Yeah,
the
oh
other?
yeah, Inception is really cool. It's like what? Like I didn't know what to feel. I didn't know what to like think.
Yeah,
I was so blown away
and that's
and
sort of the idea.
exactly, I know, but I thought
He wants to
you know
create confusion in your head so that it's like,
yeah,
okay, what's going on?
I had the same feeling if feelings with the with Matrix when I watched it for the first time.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Okay. I we
I have
have
to
to
confess, I'm not in love with the Matrix. More so, not partially most. I think it's mostly because it kind of lifts all these different religions and kind of throws them together into one big mishmash. And I'm like, okay, I understand the Buddhist part here and the Christian part here, and the Shinto coming in. It's like, yeah, but I really don't. It didn't attract me in that way. Now the effects were great. Of course, the cast was wonderful. Um,
Lawrence Fishburne.